Greetings, traveler. You seek answers? Answers buried beneath millennia of dust and distorted by the whispers of history. Others might tell you tales of heroic escape, of humanity's triumphant leap into the stars. But I, the Shadow Broker, deal in truth. And the truth, my friends, is far more complicated. The story of Earth's collapse and the genesis of the Exodus fleet isn't a simple one of survival. It's a tapestry woven with desperation, political machinations, scientific gambles, and a profound, often brutal, disregard for those left behind. Prepare yourselves for the untold story. Our journey begins not with a bang, but with a slow, agonizing whimper. By the 23rd century, Earth wasn't just dying. It was being suffocated by its own children. By the 23rd century, humanity was compelled to abandon its homeworld, Earth, a planet described as dying, and one that had been used, abused, and taken for granted. The relentless exploitation of its natural resources led to their severe depletion. Grassy fields, once vibrant with life, transformed into desolate mudflats, and once fertile farmlands became barren and fallow. This environmental devastation was compounded by unchecked urban sprawl, as massive cityscapes replaced natural landscapes, becoming overrun by masses of humanity, leaving precious, little space in which to carve out an existence. This grim reality contrasts sharply with common sci-fi narratives of planetary destruction, which often feature sudden, cataclysmic events like meteor impacts or global nuclear wars. However, the lore of the Exodus game series, Archetype Entertainment RPG, presents a more insidious and tragic scenario. Earth's collapse was not an external assault, but a protracted, self-inflicted wound. This portrayal underscores a critical understanding of the human condition within this universe. It shifts the responsibility from an unforeseen disaster to humanity's inherent shortcomings, its inability to manage resources sustainably, control population growth, and maintain ecological balance. The slow, agonizing decline of Earth, meticulously engineered by its own inhabitants, serves as a profound commentary on human short-sightedness and hubris. The uncomfortable truth is that humanity was not conquered by an outside force, but rather suffocated by its own relentless consumption and expansion. It wasn't an alien invasion or a rogue asteroid. It was us, a slow, agonizing suicide, meticulously engineered by our own hands. With the planet dying, a desperate, clandestine solution emerged. Project Ark, humanity's last audacious gamble. Massive vessels, gleaming testaments to a dying world's ingenuity, were conceived. Not just ships, but entire worlds, meant to carry the last vestiges of our species into the terrifying unknown. Faced with an increasingly uninhabitable Earth, humanity embarked on Project Ark, a monumental undertaking to construct a fleet of massive Ark ships. These vessels, described as gleaming technological marvels, were designed not merely as transports but as self-sustaining ecosystems, capable of supporting life for decades or even centuries. The sheer scale of their construction was immense, with various entities including governments, private organizations, and wealthy billionaires, funding and overseeing different projects. This fragmented approach to salvation laid the groundwork for future tensions. The scientific and logistical challenges of this endeavor were staggering. The Ark ships were equipped with entropy drives to achieve relativistic speeds, allowing them to travel just below the speed of light. However, True faster-than-light, FTL, travel remained impossible, making time dilation an unavoidable reality. This meant that while travelers on board might experience only days or weeks passing, years or even decades would elapse for those left behind in the galaxy. To conserve precious resources during these generations-long tripses, cryosleep was extensively utilized, placing passengers in a state of semi-hibernation. However, this technological solution came with a profound and unforeseen cost. Prolonged cryosleep led to fragmented memory loss for many sleepers, leaving them with only bits and pieces of their past. Characters like Elise Charot, a companion in the game, exemplify this, remembering only fragments of her earthly origins and seeking connections to recover her lost identity. This consequence of the scientific gamble highlights a tragic irony. In saving humanity physically, a part of its collective memory and individual identity was irrevocably sacrificed. The emotional toll of time dilation further compounded this, as individuals returned to find their loved ones aged beyond recognition, creating unbridgeable gaps in relationships and societal continuity. The very act of preserving the species meant a profound disconnection from its past, a hidden price paid for survival. They escaped the dying Earth, only to find parts of themselves lost in the journey. A cruel bargain, wouldn't you agree? But who would be saved? That was the real question, wasn't it? As Earth crumbled, the veneer of civilization peeled away, revealing the raw, brutal truth of power and privilege. The selection process for the ARC ships was a microcosm of humanity's final, desperate days. The selection of who would secure a berth on the ARC ships was a fiercely contested and deeply divisive process, reflecting the collapsing social order on Earth. There was no single, unified approach. Instead, various factions, including governments, private organizations, and wealthy billionaires, each implemented their own criteria. Some projects prioritized the best and brightest, seeking individuals with specific skills and expertise deemed vital for interstellar colonization. Others opted for a lottery-based system, or a more balanced mix of citizens from all walks of society, ostensibly to offer a semblance of fairness. However, the involvement of wealthy billionaires funding their own vessels suggests that financial power likely played a significant and often corrupting role in securing passage, bypassing any pretense of equitable selection. This disparate and often inequitable selection process directly fueled the complete breakdown of society on Earth. As resources dwindled and the planet's collapse became inevitable, the desperation of the masses reached a fever pitch. Those not blessed with a spot on the arcs often resorted to extreme measures, engaging in violence to try and take control of an arc ship being built, or to simply destroy it out of spite at being left behind. The profound resentment of the vast majority left behind, who saw the ships as half filled with oligarchs escaping while they faced certain doom, transformed Earth's final days into a chaotic, brutal struggle for survival. The Exodus, therefore, was not a unified humanitarian effort, but a fragmented, self-serving escape, where the political machinations were less about saving humanity as a whole and more about saving themselves at any cost. This dark ethical dilemma lies at the core of the Exodus narrative. A lottery, called it, more like a rigged game where the house always wins. And the house had a seat on an ark. The screams of those left behind, just background noise to the roar of the engines. Escaping Earth was only the first hurdle. The true test began in the void. For decades, centuries even, These ark ships were self-contained worlds, hurtling through the dark. And within those gleaming hulls, humanity faced its next great challenge: itself. The journey through the void was fraught with peril, both external and internal. Many ark ships, despite their advanced design, were lost in the void forever, swallowed by the vast emptiness of space, or succumbing to unforeseen hazards. Those that survived faced immense internal pressures. The ships were often overpacked, forcing hordes of humanity packed into spaces built for half of what they carried. This severe overcrowding inevitably led to critical resource scarcity, hygiene issues, and a dramatic amplification of existing social tensions within the confined environments of the vessels. The trials and travesties that occurred during this migration are hinted at through poignant remnants. Scraps of clothing, broken bolts, and journal entries hidden in the tubing of the cryopods. These fragments, now preserved in the Human Exodus Museum, speak volumes about the hardships endured and the desperate measures taken for survival. The psychological impact of the prolonged journey and the effects of time dilation further exacerbated these internal conflicts as travelers became increasingly disconnected from their past and their original homes. The pressures often escalated into outright rebellion and violence. Records indicate that mutiny occurred on some ark ships, with crews finding themselves trapped aboard a hijacked ark ship. Resource management became a constant, desperate battle, with ships experiencing critical shortages of fuel and water. The rich get richer dynamic, where some factions gained significant advantages, likely contributed to further social stratification and conflict within the fleet. The Exodus was not a harmonious migration, but a brutal crucible, where human nature, stripped bare by desperation and confinement, often proved to be its own greatest enemy. The void was vast, yes, but the spaces within the ships, they were far more confining, and infinitely more dangerous. Trust me, the stories hidden in those cryotubes, they're not for the faint of heart. After eons of travel, the first ark ships finally reached the Centauri cluster. A blank canvas, they thought. A new beginning. What they found, however, was far more complex. The arrival of the Exodus fleet in the Centauri cluster, approximately 40,000 years after humanity fled Earth, was not a singular event. Due to the effects of time dilation, ark ships arrived over a span of 25,000 years. The first fleets to reach Centauri discovered hundreds of habitable worlds and sent out a green signal to guide the remaining ark ships to this new home. However, the vast time lag meant that by the time later ships arrived, the landscape of Centauri had been irrevocably transformed. But who were the natives of Centauri? Not aliens, traveler. Not in the way you might think. No, the first contact was with ourselves, or rather, what we became. The initial first contact in the Centauri cluster was not with an extraterrestrial species, but with humanity's own distant descendants, the Celestials. Over thousands of years, driven by genetic engineering and the immense passage of time due to time dilation, these early human colonists evolved into a diverse range of transhuman beings. They became so far removed from their earthly origins that it's hard to remember we were all once the same. To the newly arrived humans, the Celestials were unrecognizable, appearing as alien as any species from another galaxy. Conversely, the Celestials viewed these new arrivals as primitive, backwards, and inferior, barely more than animals, with no place in their vast, cluster-spanning civilization. This profound evolutionary gap, a direct consequence of time dilation, created a new, complex hierarchy and a cyclical pattern of conflict. The Celestials, despite their shared ancestry, often enslaved or exploited the newly arrived humans, relegating them to second-class status, performing menial labor and occupying marginal roles. This dynamic mirrored the power struggles and inequalities that had plagued Earth in its final days, demonstrating that humanity's flaws and capacity for oppression persisted across vast stretches of time and evolution. The very act of seeking a new home led to a confrontation not with an external threat, but with a twisted reflection of their own past. They sought a new home, only to find themselves strangers in a land shaped by their own forgotten past. A cruel twist of fate, wouldn't you agree? And then there are the Elohim, the true architects of Centauri, or so the legends say. Mysterious, godlike beings who vanished after creating the gates of heaven, a network that makes interstellar travel feasible. But were they truly benevolent, or was their gift a means of control? From the ashes of the Formation Wars, a centuries-long, devastating conflict that destroyed thousands of habitable worlds and wiped out entire civilizations, arose the Elohim. These beings were the most powerful and technologically advanced in the galaxy. Their most significant achievement was the creation of the Gates of Heaven, a vast network of pathways linking all the various systems of the Centauri cluster. These gates revolutionized interstellar travel, allowing ships to safely and instantly accelerate to 99.9999% of light speed, drastically reducing journey times. Without them, the continued exodus would be virtually impossible. The Elohim also established a small but inviolable collection of fundamental rules, treaties, and agreements, known as the Laws of the Elohim, intended to prevent future atrocities. Mysteriously, after creating this galactic infrastructure, the Elohim vanished from all galactic records. Speculation abounds regarding their fate. Some believe they ascended to pure energy, others that they left Centauri, or that they remain hidden, observing. However, their power and authority endure. Any who violate the laws of the Elohim find their ships unable to access the gates, leading to economic collapse, stunted scientific advancement, and societal degradation, a crippling punishment. The true nature of the Elohim remains a central, unresolved mystery, presenting a profound question about the galactic order. Were they truly selfless, altruistic, godlike beings? Or were the gates a sophisticated means to establish dominance and control across the entire cluster? This ambiguity suggests that even the most advanced, seemingly benevolent forces in the galaxy might have hidden agendas. The gates of heaven, while a gift of mobility, could also be a gilded cage, ensuring compliance through technological dependency. This introduces a layer of systemic control, where humanity's struggle for survival and place in Centauri might be against an ancient, unseen hand, or even the ghost of some ancient artificial intelligence. The very foundation of interstellar society rests upon an enigmatic power whose true intentions are unknown. A gift, they say, or perhaps a leash. The ultimate punishment: silence. Cut off from the very pathways they need to survive. It makes one wonder, who truly pulls the strings in this cluster? Beyond the Celestials, the Centauri cluster holds other entities. Some are twisted reflections of earthly life, others creations of unspeakable horror, But remember, traveler, in this galaxy, even the most monstrous alien might share a common ancestor with you. The Exodus universe presents a unique twist on alien life. All biological entities encountered in the Centauri cluster are confirmed to have a terrestrial origin. This means the alien species are either vastly evolved descendants of Earth animals or genetically engineered beings, often by the Celestials themselves. This core lore point fundamentally redefines first contact, transforming it into a confrontation with the extreme evolutionary paths and ethical boundaries humanity crossed, or was forced to cross, in its desperate struggle for survival and dominance. Among these diverse and often terrifying species are Marayama, described as horrifying celestials twisted into monstrous forms. They are sadistic predators who feed on fear, delight in cruelty, and revel in the agony of their prey. They harvest minds, memories, and even emotions, often leaving survivors permanently haunted. The Marayama are a nomadic dominion, preferring to slow boat their way between systems rather than using the gates of heaven. Their existence represents a dark, extreme outcome of celestial evolution, a moral decay linked to their advanced state and potential immortality, embodying the ultimate perversion of human nature. Coven. These are explicitly identified as abhorrent slave soldiers of the Marayama Celestials, a cruel blend of changeling creature and augmented machine parts. They are the monstrous creations of the Marayama, designed for battle and torment. Awakened animals. These are genetically engineered beings, descendants of Earth animals, often with enhanced intelligence or specialized physiology. Examples include the awakened ravens with keen curiosity and remarkable memories, and awakened bears whose resilient physiology made them invaluable for providing medical care in hostile early human colonies. Archivir. These are hardy changelings, specifically designed to survive the extreme, acid, radiation, even hard vacuum. Their unique biochemistry allows them to adapt to almost anything the universe throws at them, showcasing the lengths of genetic manipulation undertaken. Silicates. These are mysterious crystalline beings whose true origins are unknown, whether they were created by a forgotten civilization or evolved independently. They possess a unique ability to bond with human flesh to create demons. The symbiotic union grants the human host incredible physical abilities, such as translucent and impervious skin, enhanced musculature, speed, and strength, effectively turning them into living weapons. However, this power comes at a cost. Demons are prone to intrusive, violent thoughts and urges, leading to speculation that the silicates influence their hosts or tap into humanity's primal darkness. The silicates represent a desperate scientific gamble, a Faustian bargain for power against the Celestials, raising profound ethical questions about sacrificing one's humanity for survival. Ghosts. These are mechanical constructs built by the Celestials, serving as servants, laborers, guardians, and soldiers. Though non-sentient, they operate with precision and can lie dormant for millennia, reawakening with minor glitches. They are remnants of a time when Celestials waged war on an unimaginable scale. The alien landscape of Centauri is in essence a complex mirror, reflecting humanity's past choices and future possibilities. The conflicts are often internecine, a struggle for identity and survival against what humanity has become. They are not from another galaxy, traveler. They are what happens when humanity evolves beyond recognition. A mirror reflecting our darkest desires, our most desperate gambles. So there you have it, traveler. The truth, unvarnished. Earth's demise wasn't a sudden cataclysm, but a slow, self-inflicted wound. The Exodus, a desperate flight, fraught with internal strife and ethical compromises. And First Contact, a chilling reflection of what humanity became, or what it could become, in the crucible of time and desperation. The Centauri cluster is not a blank slate, but a graveyard of civilizations, a testament to endless cycles of rise and fall. Humanity, the underdogs, now fights for survival against its own evolved descendants, armed with relics of forgotten empires and the morally ambiguous power of the silicates. The journey continues, traveler. The choices you make will ripple across millennia, shaping not just your destiny, but the fate of an entire species. Will you learn from the past, or are we, as a species, doomed to repeat the same mistakes, forever chasing a phantom salvation? The network never sleeps. There are always more secrets to uncover, more truths to reveal. Stay vigilant, stay connected, and perhaps we'll speak again.